Have you ever watched someone, like, meticulously dig their own grave, and then they just hand the shovel to their worst enemy?
Oh, absolutely. Hand them the shovel, climb into the hole, and ask how the lighting looks.
Yes. Literally asking how the dirt looks from up there.
Mm.
Because that is exactly what happened on our television screens this week. But before we get into the absolute unmitigated psychological warfare of reality TV, babes, we made it.
Barely, but yes.
We actually made it to Wednesday, and I need everyone listening right now to just pause. Seriously, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders,
Drop them.
take a deep breath, because you need to appreciate the simple fact that you are still standing. Because honestly, the world out there is an absolute battlefield right now.
It's a literal trench.
It really is. We're talking about a brutal economy. We're talking about inflation that feels like, I don't know, a personal attack.
Oh, it is personal. They are targeting us specifically.
Right. And we are just out here trying to keep our heads above water. But we are incredibly, fiercely grateful. Like, we are employed.
We are employed. God help us.
We are surviving. We are waking up, putting on our little outfits, drinking our iced coffees, and doing the damn thing. I just had to start this hangout by sending massive, almost aggressive gratitude to the Snark squad today.
Aggressive gratitude is the only kind of gratitude I accept right now.
Exactly, because simply getting out of bed and joining society this morning felt like an extreme Olympic sport.
It really is an extreme sport at this point. I mean, we deserve actual gold medals just for navigating the grocery store aisles.
Seriously.
I mean, the world is quite literally crumbling around us. The sea levels are rising. The vibes are in absolute shambles.
Shambles.
And buying a standard carton of eggs requires, like, a predatory payment plan. But yes, let's practice some radical, borderline delusional gratitude today. We are employed.
Barely.
Barely, exactly. We are clinging to the absolute bleeding edge of the middle class by our acrylic fingernails, but we are here. And honestly, Wednesday is the hardest day of the week to exist.
It is the absolute worst.
It's the trench. You're too far from the last weekend to feel any residual rest, and you are entirely too far from the next weekend to feel even a shred of hope.
Yep. No hope. Zero.
It is the purgatory of the work week. It's this liminal space where time just completely loses all meaning.
Exactly. It's the trench. It's the twilight zone.
Yeah.
And speaking of being in the trenches, we absolutely have to do a quick highs and lows of the week.
Oh, lay it on me.
Specifically the Dental Clinic Life Edition. Because your girl has been in the actual literal trenches of public health this week, and I need to vent to you and the Snark squad before I spontaneously combust.
Please vent. I am ready. Give me the medical trauma.
Okay. I'm going to start with the highs. Because I am desperately trying to manifest a positive aura right now.
Love that for you.
Right. So the highs. We actually had some genuinely good patients this week.
Wait, really? Actual good patients?
Yes. I'm talking about the unicorns. The kind of patients who actually open their mouths wide when you ask them to, instead of doing that weird, like, half-open grimace thing.
Oh, the grimace is the worst. Like, I can't clean your molars through a straw, Brenda.
Exactly. And the kind who don't try to ask you a complex question about their insurance, while your sharp metal instruments are literally inside their oral cavity.
People do that.
All the time. But not these unicorns.
Yeah.
Plus, we had some incredibly easy, breezy appointments where the schedule just flowed. And honestly, my coworkers were looking exceptionally cute this week.
Okay, we love an aesthetic clinic.
We do. Like, everyone's scrubs were sitting right, the hair was doing what it needed to do, the skin was glowing. It just makes the trauma so much more bearable. You know?
A rare alignment of the stars, truly. An aesthetic clinic is genuinely the only thing keeping the medical field afloat right now.
It is the only thing.
But I know you, and I know how this game works. The highs are just the little amuse-bouche for the absolute horror show of the lows.
You know me so well.
So lay it on me. What is the nightmare scenario of public dentistry this week? Give me the granular details of the suffering.
Oh my God, the lows are so deeply existentially low. First of all, the early mornings.
Disgusting.
It should be a violation of international law to require human beings to be cheerful, precise, and handling sharp dental explorers at 7 a.m.
It's barbaric.
It really is. But the real horror, the absolute sheer unadulterated trauma of people who do not scrub their tongues.
Oh, God, no, please.
Babes, Snark Squad, I am looking directly into the camera right now, and I'm begging you on my hands and knees. Brushing your teeth is not enough.
It is literally only half the job.
Less than half. When I ask a grown adult to open their mouth and I look inside and I see a fuzzy, white, biologically active ecosystem sitting on the back of their tongue.
I am going to gag. I am physically gonna gag.
My soul leaves my body. I want to clock out right then and there. I want to throw my expensive custom loops into the biohazard bin and walk fully clothed into the ocean.
I don't blame you.
It is a living, breathing biohazard.
It is deeply, profoundly upsetting that we even have to say this out loud to grown voting adults. Like, let me break this down from a biological perspective because people need to understand the gravity of the situation.
Please educate them.
The human tongue is basically a thick, plush shag carpet for bacteria.
Yes. A shag carpet.
Right. So if you are only brushing the smooth hardwood floors, your teeth, and you're completely ignoring the damp, dark shag carpet in the middle of the room, the house is still going to smell like garbage.
That is the most accurate, disgusting metaphor I have ever heard.
It's not a complex mechanical concept. You have to rake the carpet. And the fact that you, as a professional, have to look at that up close with a literal halogen spotlight shining directly onto the ecosystem.
It haunts my dreams.
You deserve combat pay. The clinic needs to be paying you hazard wages just for looking at that.
Thank you. I absolutely do. And then, if the ecosystems weren't enough, you have to add the chaotic scheduling.
Oh, I bet.
We are dealing with double bookings, triple bookings, patients who waltz in 25 minutes late with a massive iced Starbucks in their hand.
Oh, the iced coffee late arrival is an act of war.
It is. Fully acting like time is a social construct that doesn't apply to them. I am emotionally and physically exhausted before noon.
How do you even survive the afternoon?
I am currently surviving strictly on petty backroom office gossip and back-to-back coffee runs. Like, did Linda from the front desk steal my favorite pink gel pen?
Did she?
Yes, she absolutely did.
That witch.
Right. Am I going to formally confront her? No. Am I going to plot my quiet psychological revenge for the next 3 weeks? Absolutely.
As you should.
It's the little micro-dramas that keep my heart beating.
It's the micro-dramas that fuel the working class. If we didn't have petty revenge plots against Linda, the entire healthcare system would collapse.
It would crumble in a day.
But honestly, given the state of the tongue microbiomes and the stolen office supplies, what we really need, and I'm putting this energy out into the universe right now for the Snark squad to manifest for us, is a wine company to sponsor this show.
Oh, please, universe, hear us.
Because we are providing a public service by analyzing reality television. We are keeping the culture informed, and we frankly need to be heavily medicated to do it.
Yes, a wine sponsor. Because, babes, if you're watching the video feed right now, or if you can just hear the clinking of the glass.
Cheers to...
Cheers. Yes, we are currently drinking Moscato at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. And no, we do not feel bad about it.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a fraction of a percent. It's sweet, you're sweet, we're shady as hell. It's a match made in heaven.
Huh?
I am unapologetically a sweet Moscato girl today. And I will not be taking questions at this time.
Look, 9 times out of 10, I will ruthlessly roast a sweet wine.
You will. You're a wine snob.
I am. It is essentially alcoholic fruit juice. It's Capri Sun for adults who are afraid of tannins.
Right.
But there's a time and a place for it, and the time is right now, and the place is right here.
Thank you.
When the world is bitter and the economy is crushing you, your wine should be aggressively sweet. And honestly, watching messy reality TV while drinking something that tastes like a liquid, boozy Jolly Rancher,
The best.
it's a pairing that just mathematically makes sense. It's a messy, chaotic, beautiful match made in heaven, which actually gets my wheels turning.
Oh, I know that look. What are you thinking?
What other pairings out there are just an absolute match made in messy heaven?
Oh, I love this game. Okay, messy pairings. The absolute pinnacle of this, obviously, is toxic reality TV duos.
Obviously. The gold standard.
Right. Like, thinking out the entire history of television, there is nothing better than when casting directors manage to find 2 people who bring out the absolute worst, most diabolical, most entertaining qualities in each other.
It's pure magic.
It really is.
Exactly. If we are talking about reality TV dynamics, the ultimate messy pairing is a strategic mastermind and their absolute chaotic meat shield.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's a tale as old as time, it's Shakespearean and it's tragedy. You have the person who is quietly doing all the game theory math in their head, paired with a person who is just a walking, talking liability, throwing live grenades everywhere they go.
Just blowing everything up.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship built entirely on mutual destruction and codependency, and it makes for phenomenal television.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's giving villain origin story every single time. But what about, like, real-life messy pairings?
Hit me.
Like iced coffee and a completely empty stomach on a Tuesday morning.
Oh, that is lethal.
That is a match made in pure anxiety heaven. You're just sitting there vibrating at your desk, fully convinced your heart is going to explode out of your chest.
Seeing sounds, hearing colors.
Yes. But you are so incredibly productive for exactly 45 minutes before you experience a crash so hard you need a nap under your desk.
I'll raise you one better.
Okay, let's hear it.
The ultimate messy match made in heaven is deciding to, quote unquote, just have one quick drink with that one specific friend who possesses absolutely zero off switch on a night when you have a 6 a.m. flight the next day.
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. I know exactly who you are talking about.
You know it's a disaster the second the words leave your mouth. You literally see the cliff approaching in the distance.
You're just driving right toward it.
But the pairing of your own fragile, exhausted willpower and their chaotic, relentless enabling is completely undefeated. You're going to end up in a fluorescent-lit diner at 3 a.m. eating lukewarm mozzarella sticks.
Questioning your entire existence.
Questioning every choice that led you to this moment and mentally preparing to navigate TSA with a raging headache.
I feel so incredibly seen and simultaneously so attacked by that scenario because I have been that person in the diner.
We all have.
But speaking of diner food and terrible, regrettable life choices, babes, we need to pivot.
We really do.
Because we just finished eating a box of Tim Hortons Timbits right before we hit record. And I am unwell.
Fully unwell.
I am physically vibrating and I am emotionally unwell.
We have to talk about the Timbits. The Snark squad needs to hear this because I feel like I have been the victim of a coordinated financial crime.
Literal daylight robbery. Okay, so we decided to treat ourselves right. We got the new flavors.
Big mistake.
Huge. We got lime cheesecake, creme brulee, and cappuccino. And initially, the excitement in this room was palpable.
We were so hopeful.
I saw the words lime cheesecake.
Yeah.
And my brain immediately was like, wow, culinary innovation. We love a tart, sweet, complex flavor profile moment.
It sounded high-end.
It did. The creme brulee sounded decadent, sounded rich, sounded like a little Parisian escape. The cappuccino, a classic, reliable staple. We were so pumped.
We were so profoundly naive.
So naive.
We were bright-eyed and bush-tailed, completely and utterly unaware of the economic trauma that was about to be inflicted upon us. I'll admit, the cappuccino one wasn't a total crime against humanity.
No, it was fine.
It had that intensely artificial coffee flavoring that kind of coats the roof of your mouth with a weird film, but in a deeply nostalgic 1990s sort of way.
Totally.
The lime cheesecake, however, it tasted like someone dropped a regular stale glazed donut on the floor of a Bath & Body Works, stepped on it, and then dusted it with powdered sugar.
It was so aggressive. The lime flavor wasn't citrus. It was giving pure, unadulterated household cleaner.
Pine Sol realness.
It tasted like I was chewing on a sponge soaked in Pine Sol. But honestly, the flavors aren't even the core issue here.
No, they're just a distraction.
The flavors are a colorful distraction from the main crisis, which is that I looked at the receipt and my entire soul left my physical body and floated into the stratosphere.
I saw it happen. Your eyes glazed over.
Babes, they are 50 cents a Timbit.
50 American cents.
50 cents. For a single donut hole. Why does this feel like I'm being held up at gunpoint by a cartoon Canadian moose?
Let's break down the absurd late-stage capitalist math happening here. Okay.
Please, because I can't process it.
A Timbit is roughly the size of a ping pong ball. It is, by its very definition, the byproduct of the actual product.
Exactly. It's the scraps.
It is the hole punched out of the center of a real donut. It is literally the absence of a donut, and they are charging us half of $1 for it.
It makes me sick.
Yeah. If you want a box of 20, which, let's be real, you will eat mindlessly in 10 minutes while complaining about the texture,
Right.
You are spending $10 entire on scrap dough that was cooked in a vat of oil. It's extortion. It is the final crumbling stage of the economy.
It is extortion. When we were kids, I swear to God you could get a massive box of Timbits by just looking at the cashier nicely and handing over like a toonie.
It was literal pocket change.
It was pocket change. Now I need to take out a second mortgage, consult a financial advisor, and check my credit score just to afford a creme brulee ball of fried dough.
It's tragic.
I am absolutely outraged. I am emotionally spiraling over the state of baked goods. And the worst part, the absolute worst, most humiliating, degrading part of this entire experience.
I know what you're going to say.
While I was ranting to you about the price, while I was literally screaming about being robbed blind by a fast food chain,
Yep.
I reached my hand back into the box, wiped the little sugary crumbs off the cardboard bottom, and ate another one.
I watched you do it. I watched the hypocrisy unfold in real time.
I couldn't stop myself.
You are mid-sentence, passionately and articulately decrying the downfall in the global economy, sounding like a Marxist revolutionary, and your hand just instinctively bypassed your brain and went right back into the box for, quote-unquote, just one more.
It was a reflex.
We are weak. We are absolute sheep. We complain about the 50-cent Timbit. We dissect the 50-cent Timbit, but ultimately, we consume the 50-cent Timbit.
We do.
This is exactly why the giant corporations always win. They know our willpower is tied to sugar.
They own us. The processed sugar has completely rewired the neural pathways in my brain. But you know what?
But
We are currently sugared up to the absolute gills. We are slightly happily tipsy on daytime Moscato. Our wallets are significantly lighter, but our spirits are ready.
we are locked and loaded.
Because we need to channel all this petty, chaotic, high-frequency energy into what we are actually here to talk about with the Snark Squad today. We are so ready to tear into Survivor 50, Episode 9, ominously and perfectly titled, I Deserve All of This.
And honestly, considering the sugar crash we are about to experience in about 20 minutes, the title of the episode could not be more fitting for our current state of being.
It really couldn't.
We truly do deserve all of this. Let's get into the absolute unmitigated chaos of the island camp, because this episode didn't even give us a second to breathe. It picked up right where the debris was still falling from last week's tribal council.
Yes. Okay, let's set the scene for everyone because the tension was palpable. We are looking at the immediate messy fallout from last week's double duo twist.
Which was iconic.
Which, by the way, I still need a moment of silence for.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to Coach and Chrissy.
R.I.P. to the legends.
The fact that those two massive personalities went out together in a double elimination is still sending me into orbit. But the real story here, the absolute center of gravity on this beach right now, is Rick Devens.
Oh, Devens.
Babes, Rick Devens is feeling himself. He is feeling alive. He's vibrating with chaotic energy because he successfully planted that fake idol at Tribal Council, completely bluffed everyone, and totally flipped the script to save himself.
We have to acknowledge that from a purely theatrical standpoint, it was an objectively entertaining television moment.
It was amazing TV.
Right. Rick Devens is a former news anchor. He is a showman to his core. He fundamentally understands the assignment of making good, dramatic TV. He knows how to play to the cameras. But as a strategic, long-term move,
Terrible.
it is deeply, fundamentally baffling. Because what happens next? They get back to camp in the pitch black. The adrenaline is pumping through their veins. The fire is crackling. And Rick decides, in his infinite wisdom, to confess to Emily that the idol he played is totally fake.
I can't.
He just casually tells her.
I was screaming at my television, literally pacing around my living room, screaming at the screen. Why on earth would you tell anyone?
It makes no sense.
You just pulled off this massive, legendary theatrical bluff. You miraculously save your own skin. You send two huge players packing. And your very first instinct when you get back to the beach is to run to your closest ally and say, hey, girl, just kidding. I don't actually have any power. It was all a prank.
Just a little doofy prank.
Are you kidding me? Emily is furious. And she is rightfully, completely furious. Because Rick didn't just expose his own lie. He just painted a massive, glowing neon target on the backs of their entire alliance.
You're probably watching Rick Devens confess about the fake idol and thinking, well, maybe he's just trying to build solid trust with his #1 ally by being honest.
That's what he thought, for sure.
Let me tell you why that logic is fatally flawed in a game for $1 million. Let's break down the exact mechanics of how a fake idol works. When you play a fake idol and manage to convince the entire tribe that it is real, your sole currency in the game becomes the implied threat of that idol.
Yes, the threat is everything.
It is a nuclear deterrent. People don't write your name down because they are terrified that their vote will bounce off your invisible shield and hit them on the ricochet.
Yeah.
Your safety is built entirely on their fear.
Exactly.
But the moment you open your mouth and start telling people the idol is fake, you introduce a leak into your own submarine. And in the hyper-paranoid environment of Survivor, a leak becomes a catastrophic flood in about 4 hours.
It always does. People talk.
He has created a ticking time bomb because now Emily knows, which means Emily has leverage. And on the other side of the beach, the old school alliance, or as they hilariously branded themselves, the Integrity Group.
Oh my God, the Integrity Group.
Right, which features Stephanie, Joe, and Jonathan. They are absolutely seething. They just lost 2 of their core numbers because of Rick's antics.
They are so mad, the Integrity Group is plotting murder in the jungle. And then on the complete opposite end of the emotional spectrum, you have the Scissor of Oz alliance.
Whoa, the Scissor of Oz.
Cirie, Ozzy, and Rezo. Babes, they are absolutely thrilled. They're practically throwing a ticker tape parade on the beach.
And they should be.
Because Rick's messy, loud, chaotic antics took all the heat completely off of them. Ozzy actually possesses a real, authentic immunity idol in his pocket, and absolutely nobody is even looking in his direction because everyone is entirely obsessed with the Rick Devens three-ring circus.
It is the textbook definition of the meat shield strategy we were just talking about.
It is.
Rick Devens is standing in the middle of the camp, holding a giant metal lightning rod in a thunderstorm, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Look at me! Look at me!"
Zap me?
Yeah. And Ozzy is just quietly sitting under a palm frond, sipping coconut water, watching Rick get electrocuted. It's brilliant by proxy, and we absolutely cannot move past the scene without discussing Ozzy's wardrobe choices.
We have to talk about it.
Ozzy is walking around the camp draped in this giant, bright, colorful, intricately woven shawl.
Oh my God, the shawl. I fixated on it. It was giving full Etsy witch.
Yes!
It was giving, I sell overpriced amethyst crystals at the local farmer's market, and I want to read your aura.
Yeah.
Couldn't stop looking at it. Someone on our Snark Squad Discord said it was the perfect shawl for crossing a busy intersection at night because it was basically functioned as a neon safety vest, and I died.
That is so accurate. It was highly visible.
He looks so ridiculous, so out of place for a gritty survival show, but he is completely 100% socially protected right now.
The shawl is the physical manifestation of his current threat level hiding in plain sight. But while Ozzy is playing the bohemian Etsy witch, Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick is reminding every single one of us exactly why she is a reality TV legend.
Oh, Stephanie.
Mother.
Her confessional in this post-tribal Fallout segment was pure, unadulterated cinematic villainy.
Yes. Her quote, "I'm going to babyface them to death, and then I'm going to slit all their throats."
Chills. Actual chills.
Babes, when I tell you I launched myself off my couch, I live for this. This is the exact level of petty, cutthroat Shakespearean drama that I crave from my television.
It's what we deserve.
You have to understand the psychology here. She is smiling directly in their faces. She is warmly offering them scoops of rice. She is asking about their families. And the entire time, she is mentally sharpening a machete behind her back. It is flawless. It is terrifying.
It's the contrast that makes it so compelling to watch. Stephanie has always possessed that intense, raw, killer instinct, but in her earlier seasons, she was a bulldozer.
She just ran people over. Exactly. Now, pairing that killer instinct with this calculated babyface strategy shows incredible evolutionary growth as a player. She knows she can't just run people over anymore. She has to be the smiling assassin.
The most dangerous kind.
She has to make you feel comfortable right up until the moment the blade drops, which segues incredibly well into our first major analytical breakdown. Outwit, outplay, overreact. Because while Stephanie is coldly and rationally planning assassinations, other people on this island are absolutely losing their minds.
Let's get deeply into it, because the core question here is, who is actually playing the game with logic, and who is just letting their unbridled emotions run the beach?
Mostly emotions right now, let's be real.
Yeah, the emotions are completely taking over the steering wheel. Let's start with the ultimate overreaction. Christian Hubicki.
Oh, Christian.
My sweet, nerdy, brilliantly intelligent Christian. Babes, he is fully, completely panicking. The heat is shifting onto his alliance because of Devens' messy, fake idol reveal, and Christian is scrambling like a person who just realized they left the oven on while boarding a transatlantic flight.
Sweating, trembling.
He tries to pull Stephanie and Jonathan aside to smooth things over, and it is physically painful to watch.
It's agonizing. You are watching a genius-level intellect completely short-circuit under social pressure. Christian is brilliant, but his threat management and his asset management in this specific moment were abysmal.
So bad.
He sits down with Jonathan. Jonathan is glaring at him, giving him absolutely nothing stone-cold silence. And Christian, in a moment of pure, blinding desperation, reaches into his bag and offers Jonathan his shot-in-the-dark die as collateral to build trust.
Why? Why do smart players do this? I was gripping my wine glass so hard I thought it would shatter.
It is a masterclass in what never to do in a negotiation.
Never, ever.
For anyone who might be fuzzy on the fine print of the shot-in-the-dark mechanic, it is a literal lifesaver. It is a last resort safety mechanism that gives you a 1 in 6 chance to be safe at tribal council, but to play it, you must sacrifice your right to vote.
Right, it's your parachute.
It is your emergency parachute. You do not hand your emergency parachute to the person who is actively trying to shoot your plane out of the sky just to prove you are a nice guy.
No, they will just let you crash.
Exactly. Jonathan immediately takes the die, pockets it, and then explicitly turns to Joe later and says he's going to use this exact die against Christian to vote him out.
Of course he is.
Jonathan feels like a mob boss collecting overdue debts. He literally referred to himself as the bone collector.
The bone collector. I am dead.
Christian didn't build trust. He literally handed the executioner the weapon to end his own game. It was a purely emotional, panic-driven reaction to the claustrophobia of the game. He thought giving away his only leverage would buy loyalty, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of survivor game theory. Leverage is loyalty.
It breaks my heart because Christian is so lovable and so pure, but it was just so strategically against, and the spiral just gets worse.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
Because then we flip to the outplaying side of the coin, which is starring the absolute queen, the mother of the island, the legend herself, Cirie Fields.
We bow down.
We do. Christian, who is still violently panicking and realizing his Jonathan plan backfired, decides he needs to pivot and find a new target. So he goes for a walk with Cirie.
Okay, stop.
And he looks her in the eye and pitches, voting out Ozzy.
I need to pause the tape right here. I genuinely need to understand the psychological break, the complete cognitive dissonance that must occur in a player's mind to think this is a viable path forward.
I am spiraling just thinking about it.
Yeah.
You do not pitch voting out Ozzy to Cirie.
Never.
Ozzy is Cirie's #1 ally in the game. They are the Scissor of Oz. They are a locked-in, undeniable, publicly recognized duo. What on earth is Christian thinking? Has the lack of carbohydrates completely eroded his prefrontal cortex?
He's not thinking. He's drowning. He's drowning in the game, and he's frantically grabbing onto whatever looks like a life raft, completely ignoring the blatant fact that the life raft is made of solid lead.
Solid lead. Yes.
But let's break down Cirie's reaction to this pitch, because this right here is exactly why she is considered one of the greatest social players to ever touch the sand.
The absolute greatest.
When Christian pitches her best friend, she doesn't yell. She doesn't get defensive. She doesn't scold him or shut the conversation down. She just looks at him, completely deadpan, processes the audacity of the statement, and simply says, "Interesting."
The long G on the end of that word. Interesting.
Babes, when Cirie Fields looks at you and says that, you are dead.
You are buried.
You are a walking ghost on that beach. The Grim Reaper has officially tapped you on the shoulder. It is the absolute kiss of death. She said it so calmly, so serenely, and my blood ran freezing cold.
Because the moment she said it, her brain immediately cataloged Christian as an active threat to her endgame. She didn't argue, she just collected the data.
Beep, boop, data stored. Yep.
And she immediately walked over to Ozzy and told him every single word. He who must not be named, Christian called Ozzy.
Yeah.
Cirie relays that exact quote. But the most hilarious, deeply ironic part of this entire dynamic is that Emily, who is supposed to be the hyper-logical, calculated, strategic brains of her trio.
Oh my gosh, Emily.
Emily does the exact same thing later in the very same episode. She goes for a walk with Cirie and Tiffany, and she literally pitches voting out Ozzy.
Emily, girl, what are we doing?
What is the thought process?
Flip-flop Emily is all over the beach, throwing out names like she's reading from a phone book, and Cirie gives her the exact same silent, lethal treatment.
The exact same one.
The second Emily turns around and walks away, Cirie turns to Tiffany, doesn't even blink, and instantly decides she gotta go, Emily has to go. It's ruthless, it's highly efficient, and it's flawless textbook gameplay.
It is a masterclass in reading the room and acting decisively.
But I have to ask you, and I really want to push back on this dynamic a little bit. Why does every single person keep running to Cirie with their absolute worst, most terrible plans? I know, it's wild.
Is her aura just that blindingly comforting? Like, do they completely forget she is playing the game for $1 million too? Why do they treat her like a confessional booth?
That is the magic of what I call the Cirie trap.
The Cirie trap. I like that.
She possesses this incredibly rare, disarming, maternal, profoundly comforting energy. When you are starving, completely paranoid, sleep-deprived for 20 days, and this warm, calm, smiling woman sits down next to you on a log, your primal instinct is to confide in her.
You just want a hug.
Exactly. You desperately want her to solve your problems. She acts like a passive sounding board, an island therapist.
Yeah.
So players just verbally vomit their worst, most toxic ideas onto her lap, completely forgetting that behind those warm eyes, she is a lethal, calculating strategist who is organizing every single syllable they say into a filing cabinet to use against them at Tribal Council.
It's brilliant.
It is a social superpower. She weaponizes comfort.
It really is a superpower. She's like the camp therapist, but she's secretly recording all your sessions to blackmail you later. Which leads us perfectly into the next layer of this messy onion. Trust or trap? Because the alliances right now are so incredibly tangled, so messy, we need to debate which ones are built on actual reality and which ones are about to violently implode.
And there are a multitude of red flags flapping wildly in the Fijian breeze right now. Let's start with what I believe is clearly a trap. Aubrey and Jonathan.
Oh, this is so weird.
Aubrey is visibly annoyed by the Rick Devens chaos because Aubrey thrives on order, and she pulls Jonathan aside into the jungle. She looks at him and tells him she is fully ready to jump ship on the nerds.
Bye, nerds.
Right. She wants to cross enemy lines and work with him. Jonathan, who is currently bleeding allies and desperately, urgently needs numbers, readily agrees to this secret pact.
Okay, but we have to debate this. Because Aubrey gets this big confessional where she is claiming her game is finally heating up. She's looking at the camera, giving us the whole narrative arc about how it's time for her to emerge from the shadows and start playing hard.
A classic protagonist speech.
But I need to ask, is this actually a real functional alliance being born? Or is this a complete manipulative trap set by the editors in the cutting room? Because, babes, we have to talk about Aubrey's completely invisible edit this season.
It's barely an edit.
She got that one grand, dramatic confessional about heating up, and then she completely vanished from the rest of the episode.
It wasn't just a vanishing act. It was a total narrative erasure. She didn't have another significant scene. She wasn't shown strategizing with anyone else. She didn't even speak a single word at Tribal Council.
Not a peep.
The editors are absolutely trolling the audience right now. Aubrey says her game is heating up, but she is barely at a medium simmer. She is functionally a background character right now.
Glorified extra.
Notice how Jonathan got all the narrative credit for that interaction. We heard his thoughts on it, not hers. So to answer the question, it's a trap for the viewer. Aubrey might genuinely think she's building a real Studi bridge with Jonathan, but Jonathan is just using her as a temporary disposable stepping stone, and the editors are fully aware of it.
I completely agree. The editors are throwing us breadcrumbs that lead to a dead end. Aubrey is not the mastermind here. But let's move to a dynamic that is undeniably, aggressively real.
Oh, I know what you're picking.
And honestly, this was the most emotionally resonant, deeply triggering moment of the entire episode for me. The race drama.
The absolute audacity.
This is pure, unfiltered truth. Emily, who is already on Cirie's bad side, has the absolute, unmitigated audacity to complain out loud that Cirie is cooking too much rice for the tribe.
You could literally feel the ambient temperature drop on the beach through the television screen. It was chilling.
I was entirely, 100% on Cirie's side. Cirie goes into the diary room and delivers the absolute quote of the season, maybe the quote of the decade. Girl, have several seats, the rice is covered. I was cooking rice before Emily was a twinkle in her mother's eye.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Babes, Snark Squad, listen to me. You do not ever, under any circumstances, disrespect the chef of the island. When someone is standing over an open, smoking fire in the sweltering heat, sweating, constantly stirring a pot of bland mush just to keep your vital organs functioning, you sit down, you shut your mouth, and you graciously eat whatever portion you are given.
It is the golden, unbreakable rule of communal living, whether you are on a deserted island or living in a college dorm. You do not critique the cook unless you actively want to become the ingredients.
Exactly. You will be in the pot next.
But let's look at this from a purely strategic standpoint.
Yeah.
Why is Emily poking a sleeping bear for absolutely no reason? Emily was right, practically speaking. They did make a massive heaping helping of rice, which is poor rationing for a long game.
Sure, technically.
But politically, she was dead wrong. That single moment solidified for Cirie that Emily is not just expendable, but profoundly annoying. And in Survivor, annoying gets you voted out just as fast as being a threat. So, the rice drama. Not a trap. That was real, authentic, relationship-ending annoyance.
Completely real. Do not mess with the carbs. And then we have one more interpersonal dynamic to look at before the challenges. Joe and Devens.
This was fascinating.
Joe pulls Devens aside and tries to smooth things over after the fake idol tribal. Joe claims, with a straight face, that he wasn't actually going to write Devens' name down last week before the madness erupted.
Which is a bold lie.
And Devens, who is currently running on pure, unchecked ego and adrenaline, calls Joe a liar directly to his face. He says he caught Joe's hand squarely in the cookie jar.
And this is where it gets fascinating. Joe just walks away.
He just turns around.
He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't fight back. In his confessional, Joe explains that he feels entirely validated by the interaction. He astutely realizes that Devens is just trying to publicly goad him into an argument to make Joe look unstable and hot-headed to the rest of the tribe.
Oh, Devens was totally trying to trigger him.
Joe recognizes the bait and refuses to bite. He takes the high road. So if we look at the theme trust, or trap, it is clearly a psychological trap set by Devens that Joe completely avoids stepping into.
Joe saw right through it.
Devens is playing way too hard, way too fast, and in his desperation to control the narrative, he is actively alienating people who were historically willing to work with him. It's a classic case of bad gameplay wrapped up in really good television soundbites.
Good soundbites. Terrible strategy. That should be the title of Rick Devens' memoir.
It really should.
Okay, babes. We have to pivot to the challenges because this is where we insert ourselves into the chaos and judge these starving, exhausted people from the absolute comfort of our couches while our bodies are digesting overpriced donut holes.
It's my favorite activity.
The immunity challenge this week is called Wrist Assured. Here is the breakdown. You have to stand on a platform holding a twisting, awkward handle connected to a bucket. That bucket holds exactly 25% of your pregame body weight. If your wrists give out and the bucket drops, you are instantly eliminated.
Let's strip away all the ego and be brutally honest with ourselves and the Snark squad. How long are you lasting in this specific physical scenario?
I am lasting exactly 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Generous.
The moment Jeff Probst yells go, I am performing the ceremonial loser's dismount.
Just a graceful exit.
I am intentionally dropping that heavy bucket straight into the dirt alongside Rizzo and Emily, and I'm walking over to the bench to sit in the shade and wait for the drama to unfold.
Grab a coconut, relax.
25% of my body weight, hanging from my fragile wrists. Absolutely not. My joints would literally snap. I do not have the upper body strength. I do not possess the mental willpower, and I simply do not have the desire to suffer for a piece of ugly metal jewelry.
See, I would genuinely want to try, purely out of stubborn pride, but the sheer physics of it are entirely against me.
It's physically impossible.
It's a challenge sadistically designed to torture your forearm flexors. The lactic acid buildup would be blinding. But the real monumental twist here wasn't the weight. The twist was the Jeff Probst side bet.
Oh my God, the Jimmy Fallon twist. Jimmy Fallon apparently gave Jeff this idea. Jeff casually announces to the starving tribe that he is going to compete in the immunity challenge himself.
Which is insane.
And if 5 players can outlast Jeff, the entire tribe wins a massive, life-saving bag of rice. They instantly hustle him and negotiate him down to 4 people, because of course they're going to hustle the host. So Ozzy, Joe, Tiffany, and Jonathan boldly take the bet.
Yeah.
And Jeff gets up there on his little elevated platform with his own bucket and his pristine outfit.
And the execution of this moment was phenomenal, transcendent television. Jeff Probst, a man who has spent 50 seasons standing comfortably in a pressed polo shirt, holding a microphone, yelling big deep and you gotta want it at people who haven't eaten a solid meal in a month, finally has to put his money where his mouth is.
Finally.
And he is visibly, painfully struggling. He is shaking, he's grimacing, the veins are popping out of his neck, and he is trying to narrate his own physical pain, dropping random celebrity names like Zach Brown and talking about his mother to distract himself.
I was howling, I was crying, laughing. He only lasted 7.5 minutes.
7.5 minutes.
After all that tough talk. And the players were ruthlessly, joyfully heckling him. They were giving him back every single ounce of shade and judgment he has thrown at them for 2 decades. It was pure, unadulterated karma.
It was beautiful to watch.
But the moment that actually ended me, the moment I am going to have framed and hung in my living room, is when Jeff finally drops his bucket in defeat, and Cirie, sitting completely relaxed on the sidelines, yells out, "Oop, Jeff said the thing, Jeff said the thing."
It was poetic. And of course, the 4 bettors easily outlasted him, so they secured the rice. But the challenge continues for actual immunity and eventually comes down to a showdown between Ozzy and Joe.
A battle of the titans.
Joe pulls out the win, mentally focusing on his sister to push through the pain, and he takes the necklace. But Jeff isn't done. Jeff then tells Joe that because he won, he has to pick someone to go on a mysterious journey. And this is where I need to take a massive detour and roast Joe Hunter.
Do it. Drag him. The Snark squad is ready.
Joe has just been handed the most critical power in the game. He has the power to dictate the strategic flow of the entire week by choosing who gets this unknown advantage or disadvantage.
Right. Massive power.
Does he send a close ally to potentially gain an idol and secure their numbers? Does he send an enemy to potentially lose their vote and weaken the opposing side? No. He does none of that. He makes everyone stand in a circle and play rock, paper, scissors.
I was screaming at the television again.
It is the ultimate, most cowardly cop-out. Let's analyze the psychology here. Joe has incredible, undeniable upper body physical strength. He absolutely dominated that grueling endurance challenge. But the very moment he was faced with a complex mental decision that required political capital, his brain completely short-circuited.
Completely fried.
He was too mentally fried, or perhaps too afraid of getting blood on his hands, to make a real strategic choice. So he outsourced his agency to a literal playground game. It's weak, it's passive, it completely negates the point of winning power. And it ends up with Christian poor, panicked Christian winning the rock, paper, scissors tournament and being sent on the journey.
It was such a fragile, cowardly move. He was so scared of making a wave. But it sets up the most cinematic, tragic, stressful journey ever filmed.
Oh, is it like a thriller?
Christian gets taken on a boat out to this floating wooden barge in the middle of the ocean. It's the Jimmy Fallon one in the urn puzzle. The setup is terrifying. He has to solve this massive block puzzle on a table. But the table is rigged.
Of course it is.
There are heavy weights attached to ropes connected to the puzzle pieces. As a timer ticks down, the weights drop, slowly and violently dragging the puzzle pieces off the table and straight down into the depths of the ocean. Also, complete side note, can we please talk about the fact that Zac Brown is allegedly seen in the background, casually spearfishing in the water during this deeply tense scene?
The Zac Brown cameo is easily the weirdest, most surreal Easter egg in the history of reality television. He was just swimming around back there in a snorkel.
Just living his best life.
But looking at the challenge itself, it is a brilliant piece of psychological torture. You can physically hear the thick ropes unspooling. You hear the heavy splash of the weights hitting the water. You see the puzzle actively, aggressively destroying itself, while Christian frantically tries to solve it. If you were on that barge, what are you doing?
If it were me, the very second the first heavy weight plunges into the ocean and drags a wooden block with it, I am sitting down cross-legged on the barge and crying.
Just immediate surrender.
I am completely giving up. The sensory overload and the ticking clock stress would fully paralyze my nervous system. I would just watch my game sink to the bottom of the Fijian Sea, wave politely at Zac Brown in the distance, and accept my tragic fate.
Honestly, I would just let it fall too. I wouldn't even pretend to try and solve it. I'd sit back, enjoy the beautiful oceanic view, and spend those 5 minutes trying to construct a highly elaborate, airtight lie to tell the tribe when I get back to camp.
That's the smart move.
But Christian tries. He fights for it, he's a puzzle guy, and he fails. The weights violently pull the puzzle into the ocean, and it is absolutely devastating to watch. He had this perfect nerdy metaphor where he said it felt exactly like having a corrupted hard drive on the morning of a massive PowerPoint presentation.
A perfectly heartbreaking, nerdy metaphor, which brings us right into our final phase. Snark Squad survival takes.
Oh, I'm ready for the takes.
This is the part of the hangout where we throw out our bold, slightly unhinged, heavily debated opinions about the gameplay, the alliances, and the final outcomes of the episode. And babes, we absolutely have to start with the aftermath of Christian's failure. Take number 1. The Jimmy Fallon twist is a literal humiliation ritual.
It is draconian. It belongs in the Middle Ages. Because Christian lost the puzzle, he didn't just lose an opportunity for an advantage. He had to take a physical note of shame back to the camp. He had to stand up in front of the entire tribe, publicly announce that he failed a puzzle, and then read the mandated rule that he must cast a vote against himself at tribal council.
It completely irreversibly destroyed his game. Think about it from a game theory perspective. He was already in massive trouble because of Devon's fake idle mess, but this punishment was the final rusty nail in the coffin.
There was no way out.
He was mathematically paralyzed, he couldn't maneuver socially, he couldn't even play a shot in the dark. Because, like we explained earlier, the rules of the shot in the dark say you must sacrifice your vote to play it. But the penalty from Jimmy Fallon literally forced him to cast a vote. He didn't have a vote to sacrifice. He was completely trapped in a paradox.
I completely agree with this take. I think it is objectively the worst, most unfair disadvantage in the history of the show.
It is so mean.
It is the equivalent of tying a player firmly to the train tracks and then handing the other players the lever to accelerate the train. Voting for yourself in Survivor is the ultimate taboo. It goes against the core survival instinct of the game. Forcing someone to do it while making them announce it to the tribe violently strips them of any political agency. Jimmy Fallon, sitting comfortably in his New York studio, essentially executed Christian's game.
Totally. It was grim. Okay, take number 2, and I'm coming in incredibly hot on this one.
Oh, boy.
Jeff Probst is making the show entirely too much about himself.
Oh, here we go. The host versus host debate. Let's hear it.
I am spiraling about this.
Okay.
I've been spiraling for weeks. Over the last few seasons, Jeff has transitioned from being a host to being a cast member doing sketch comedy.
He's just having fun.
He did those weird impressions. He did that terrible cringe rap a few seasons ago. He had his strange acoustic bonding session with Zach Brown, and now he's literally physically inserting himself into the immunity challenge. He is stealing precious, finite screen time from the actual players. I want to see the players scheming in the dirt. I want to see camp life dynamics. I don't need a 10-minute segment of Jeff Probst proving his CrossFit routine by holding a bucket.
See, I am going to push back and disagree with you entirely on this take. I fully defend the challenge twist.
How can you defend that ego trip?
Because it was undeniably incredible TV. Think about the meta-narrative. For years, fans have complained that the show is getting stale, that the challenges are repetitive, so production tries something radically different. Watching Jeff struggle, watching the pristine facade of the untouchable, omniscient host completely crumble, while the snarving contestants verbally abuse him.
Okay, the heckling was good.
That is pure high-octane entertainment. It humanizes him, and more importantly, it gave the players a desperately needed moment of psychological catharsis. They got to punch up at authority. Plus, let's be real, it's his show. He has been standing in the sweltering heat doing this for 50 seasons. Let the man cook.
Yes, fine.
If he wants to hold a bucket for 7 minutes to earn them some carbohydrates, I am here for it. It was funny, it was surprising, and narratively, it worked perfectly.
I still strongly believe it's a massive ego trip, but I will reluctantly concede that hearing Cirie yell, "Jeff said the thing," was worth the price of admission.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to take number 3, the Tribal Council aftermath. So they all march to Tribal. Jeff asks Christian about the rice drama, and Christian, completely defeated, says the rice is just fueling his rage.
Iconic line.
Which is an iconic parting line. The votes are cast. The math shakes out. 6 votes for Christian, which includes his own forced, humiliating vote. 3 votes for Devins, and 2 stray votes for Ozzy, from Emily and Devins trying to pull a fast, messy one. Christian is eliminated. But the moment we absolutely need to debate is the exit sequence.
Yes, the walk of shame. On his way out, after getting his torch ceremoniously snuffed, Jonathan stands up from his stump, walks over to the path, and physically hands Christian his shot-in-the-dark die back. The exact same die that Christian desperately gave him earlier in the episode as a sign of trust.
Okay, we need to unpack the psychology of this interaction. Was this a sign of sweet, honorable respect between competitors, or was it a savage, incredibly condescending, bullying move to a defeated player?
Oh, I know where you stand on this.
Because I think it was straight-up bullying. I think Jonathan kicked a man when he was already bleeding out on the ground. Think about what Christian just went through. He was publicly humiliated by the Jimmy Fallon twist. He was forced to write his own name down. His entire alliance crumbled around him. And then Jonathan hands him the little plastic trinket back like, "Here you go, little guy. You might need something to play with on the jury." It was so incredibly mean.
You are looking at this entirely through the lens of everyday, real-world empathy, which has absolutely no place on the island of Survivor.
It has some place.
No, it doesn't. I think it was a hilarious, top-tier, masterful display of villain behavior. Jonathan is leaning fully and unabashedly into this bone collector persona. He took Christian's life in the game, he orchestrated the hit, and then he coldly handed him back his weapon because he didn't even need it to kill him.
It's so mean.
It is cold-blooded, it is incredibly cinematic, and it is exactly the kind of arrogant, hubristic gameplay that sets Jonathan up for a massive, deeply satisfying downfall later in the season. It's the architecture of good television.
It was so deeply arrogant it made my skin crawl. But it raises the ultimate defining question of the week. Is Jonathan the villain for that move? Or is Jimmy Fallon the true overarching villain of Survivor 50?
Oh, Jimmy Fallon, 100%.
Because honestly, Fallon ruined that man's entire life. When Christian was walking out, he was looking at the camera with a stare that said he was ready to fly straight to New York and dismantle the Tonight Show set piece by piece with his bare hands.
Fallon is definitely catching massive stray bullets for this online, and the twist was brutal, but ultimately, Christian's terrible threat management and his chaotic alliance with Devins are what mathematically got him voted out. The Fallon twist just turned a standard elimination into a spectacular public execution.
A heartbreaking, rage-fueled, unforgettable spectacle. Well, babes, we have survived another tribal council.
We made it through.
We have survived the emotional roller coaster. We have to wrap this hangout up, but first, thank you. Thank you to the incredible Snark Squad for surviving the midweek slump with us, for hanging out, and for validating our collective outrage over everything from dentistry to reality TV.
It means the world.
If you laughed today, if you agreed with our takes, if you are also currently furious about the hyperinflated price of donut holes, please share this conversation with your messiest, most reality TV-obsessed friend. Send it to the group chat. Rate and review the show so we can eventually afford to buy our own premium wine sponsor.
Yes, please do. We are currently accepting applications for sponsors who deeply understand our specific, nuanced brand of unhinged reality TV analysis and daylight day drinking.
Bring it all full circle, babes. We started this hour by being deeply, almost aggressively grateful for our employment and our fragile, tenuous grip on adulthood.
So fragile.
We ended up in a full-blown, sugar-induced spiral over a 50-cent Timbit economy, and we spent the last hour passionately judging starving, sleep-deprived people on a Fijian island while sipping sweet Moscato in an air-conditioned room.
Balance.
Balance. That is exactly what we call balance.
It is the beautiful, messy duality of the human experience. But before we sign off and let you get back to your day, I want to leave you with a final, highly provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, lay it on them.
At the very end of the episode, the preview for next week dropped a massive, ominous bomb. They teased the arrival of the Mr. Beast Super Beware advantage.
I am not ready.
Now, I want you to really critically think about this. If Jimmy Fallon's cute late-night comedy twist forced a beloved player to publicly humiliate himself, lose his vote, and orchestrate his own demise, what kind of dystopian psychological nightmare is Mr. Beast going to unleash on these starving people?
Oh my God, I haven't even processed that yet.
Think about Mr. Beast's brand. Is he going to force them to live in a buried coffin underground for 3 days just to earn a hidden immunity idol? Is he going to literally walk onto the beach with a silver briefcase full of actual real-world cash and try to bribe someone to quit the game right before the merge? The stakes are escalating at an alarming rate. The twists are getting significantly darker, and the economy of Survivor is inflating just as fast as the price of those Timbits.
I am genuinely terrified, and I absolutely cannot wait to watch next week. Is going to be an absolute unmitigated fever dream of content. So until then, babes,
Stay thriving.
stay employed.
And we'll see you next time on the Snark side.